Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable right here on Facebook at the Star Nation's main fan page, where this is my weekly afternoon live stream. And this is all about my card draw in the morning, the divination card draw, where it sparks a spiritual conversation. And I just love those. Thank you all for being with me this afternoon. I tell you what, it's been kind of a strange day. I had to move my show back an hour because we had some stuff going on here at my house with my mom. She had a doctor's appointment. And yeah, my oldest brother came to help with that. And the doctor's appointment took a lot longer than we thought it was going to. And so, yeah. Some things are just out of your hands. And so I looked at the time and I thought, you know what? Rather than trying to push it and try to make it at 2:00 and feeling really, haggard, really, we're just going to wait an hour and just start it an hour later. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to do a little something here since this is out of the norm, different time, right? Is that I'm going to look for the live stream and I'm going to drop it over at my my news feed so that you know where to find me, right? All right, so here we go. It's just going to take me a second. There we go. Got that one. And then I'm going to drop it over at our private group for the live stream shows so that the peeps know. I did send them a little something, but it's just to remind them. There we go. And we're going to send it over there. There we go. And I would also like to ask you to do the same thing. Even if you drop it at a friend or on your profile page or something like that, just so that we get the word out, right? And I always promised a couple people that I would send it to them through Messenger. And so that's what I'm going to do. Just a couple people here. Just a couple people that I know that are usually on with me during the afternoon. And I think that should be good. And yep, that's good. There we go. And so we'll get back to our page with the live stream that's going on. I know it just takes a little bit. There we go. There we are. Yay. So anyway, the reason why I'm running later than usual has all to do with my mom's doctor's appointment. Things turned out well there. There's nothing to worry about. It's just her annual. She calls it the black male appointment because she only has one prescribed medication, and she has to have a blood draw for it and see the doctor. And so once a year, and it takes us longer to get her in and out of the car, get the wheelchair in and out of the car to than it does for the whole entire process over at the clinic. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it. Since we're running about an hour late, I do appreciate it. And thanks everybody that's in the live chat. I appreciate it. And those that are going to be watching by the the recorded show. Thanks for being here too. See, listen, this is the deck that we're currently using, right? It's called Sacred Spirit Reading Cards by Anna Stark. And Anna Stark is from Australia. Illustrated by Lewis Dyer. Lewis Dyer, who's also from the UK. Brand new deck of cards that just published last year. I was got the nudge, right? Got the nudge that we're going to be using a different deck, and I thought, okay, show me which deck we're using because I have a lot of them. And it was no, there's a deck waiting out there for you. And so I went out to Amazon and was just scrolling through, the divination cards, and this one lit up. So I said, all right, that's the one we're going to use. And so I had to pre-order it. And when it came just a couple weeks ago, yeah, I just love it. That front book picture, and here's the back. This is what's on the cards on the back. Yeah, it's some of my favorite colors, blues, purples, greens. I know, right? Hey, guys, let's see. Let's see who's in the house. We have Deborah's here. Hey, Deborah, good to have you here. Angie's here. Hello, Angie. Good to have you here. Rob's here too, but he's not really. He's incognito. Can an RN come and do the home visit for the draw? Oh, that is such a good question, Deborah. We've been asking that for the last 5 years. I tell you what, those that do caregiving and especially for the elderly, man, there's a lot of red tape. All right, so here's the thing, is that mom is on palliative care, which is really good. That means that she has a nurse practitioner here seeing her at least once a quarter, sometimes even more often, right? And that nurse practitioner does everything that the physician does. The only thing that they can't do is a blood draw here. In order for it to be covered by Medicare or insurance, it has to be drawn at the clinic. I know, right? So technically, she doesn't even have to go in to see her primary. She could just be seen by the nurse practitioner, but in order to have the blood draw for her prescribed drug, she has to have it drawn at the clinic. I know, right? If there was a way around it, let me know, because we're willing to do it. And the other thing is that, the specialized transportation, right, is available here in Toma. It is. And there's two different places, the cab company and also the aging, right, and through the county. And the thing is that you really have to get these things booked well ahead of time, because they're highly used, and you can't just call them up a week before or 2 weeks before and say we have an appointment, we'd like to order the cab to come here or whatever, So I'm learning because I could have had this set up when I first set the appointment, but I didn't know. So anyway, my brother came, which was nice. My oldest brother, he came to take her because I'm having issues with my medication, with the metformin. It's side effects, so I can't lift the wheelchair in and out of the car the way I usually do, and so he came to do that. Teamwork. I know, it's good stuff. Thanks for asking, though, Deborah. You got a point. Hey, Mary's here too. Hello, Mary. And Cindy's here too. Hello, Cindy. And Amy's here too. Heidi ho to you too. Make me smile. All right, so we're going to get started with the cards, all right? Because I do have a business call at the top of the hour, and I need to be there on time for that one. I know, right? Why can't we just always have fun? All right, so here's the first card. It's a good one. I'm going to stop the crawler because sometimes that gets a little much when you're looking at the cards. Okay. All right, so here's the first card. First card is emotional challenges. Emotional challenges. Resolve the issue. It's number 14 in the deck. So it's number 13, I'm sorry. Number 13 in the deck, which is a 4. It's express yourself clearly. Resolve the issue. You know, taking a look at the image on this card. And we have tears and cupped hands that are catching the tears. Right? Emotional challenges. But notice that at the third location of the third eye, it's lit up, isn't it? And, when I first looked at this card, I thought, that looks like multiple sets of eyes, doesn't it? Yeah. You might even say it kind of looks like a mask, too. Emotional challenges. Resolve the issue. And so, when I draw the cards in the morning, and I've been doing this for a really, really long time. We've been doing this together for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, not quite, a year and a half. And my intention for the card draw is pretty much the same every time. And that's asking my spiritual team to come close and to show me the energy that's flowing that's important for us to know about for the week or for the day, right? And that will help us to understand our experience here, that we will gain some clarity on issues that are occurring for us, for our soul growth, right? And so that's the intention, and to spark this conversation that we have together. And so this particular card, when I was sitting there looking at it and realizing that it's a human face with tears, with cupped hands catching the tears, right? Yeah. So here's what the author has to say about the card. It says, she says that it's not uncommon for individuals to experience regular emotional challenges. A part of the human experience is to go through different stages of the emotional wheel, from love, joy, and happiness to grief, sadness, and betrayal. Not all emotions can be conveyed at once, and therefore a process of understanding our current and past feelings to move forward with an issue or challenge is essential. And so, looking at this card, it doesn't tell us whether the emotion is about joy or about grief. It's just emotion and expressing the emotion, right? Because we have, as two-leggeds, we have a tendency to, when we do cry, because I know that there's some of us who really, really resist it, right? And a lot of that has to do with how we were raised. But with the tears, they can be tears of joy, they can be tears of grief, they can be tears of anger, they can be tears of joy. They can be tears for happy occasions and sad occasions. The expression of our emotions, right? That's what's important here, is the expression of our emotions. Yeah. So I'm going to catch up with you guys in the chat here. Deb says, I've seen people wait for a long time to be picked up at the clinic I work. I know. It answered the question about, because, they're either waiting there for a long time for their appointment, or they're waiting a long time to get picked up. That's specialized transportation for elderly and disabled, right? Hey, Madonna's here. Hello, Madonna. Hello, lady. I hope you're feeling better. And Crystal's here too. Hello, Crystal. Good to have you in the house. Dinah, good afternoon, Dinah. Good to have you here. I love seeing you guys in the chat. And Amy says, "Oh, Neshi, sorry about the metformin. I'm not able to take that med anymore because of the side effects." I know, right? So I'm trying to hang in there till March, and that will be my my first visit since this whole thing started going a little haywire. And since they put me on the medication, so maybe in March I'll be able to change it up a bit. But until then, I'm just trying to be in the flow and try to do the best I can with it. Hey, Margaret! Oh my gosh, wings to fly. Yes, love your cat picture too. Angie says, nice looking card. It is. I like those colors. Deborah says, it's striking. Yes, it is. It really not just brings you in, but it's like, oh my gosh, what is that? Right? Crystal says, it looks to me like the person is holding on to the tears. Yes, it does, doesn't it? It's almost like it creates a lake or a pond, or right, holding on to them. Years ago, one of she was my doctor for a while, Dr. Fran. Some of you know Dr. Fran. She's the one who taught me about tears, that our tears have so much information for us. Yeah, it's just not the physical form of the tears and the physical feeling of having the tears, right? That's important. But there's literally information inside the tears. And that there's different cultures that will literally catch a tear and put it on their tongue, right? To their tongue, to take it back in, to process the emotion. Does it, that's kind of, to me, that makes sense. Yeah. And so you're right, Crystal. I mean, it looks like that they're holding on to it. But in the capturing or holding the tears that are being shed, perhaps we're learning about our emotions and the event that led to the emotion, to the tears, right? Yeah. And water, just water in itself, is a very feminine trait, right? It represents the feminine. And so here, this is a very feminine card. I'm going to take that down just for a second. It's a very feminine card because you have the darker colors, which is yin, right? And you have the emotion, which is considered sacred feminine. And also holding the tears, the container, the tears, creating this pond or this lake of tears, is a very feminine. So many would say that as we're experiencing our emotional challenges and in the resolution of the issues, that we have to tap into our sacred feminine, right? Whether our gender is male or female or neutral, that the information that could really help us in finding that resolution, when we tap into the sacred feminine, it could come much easier, right? And just saying, wow, right? I know. I take it too. Yeah, the metformin. Yeah, it's a that drug has gotten around a lot. Yeah, so I'm gonna see. It'll be fine. Honest. Deborah saying, I find myself nodding as though I can see me. Well, we're having a conversation, right? I know. So many people love Dr. Fran. I know. Did you know that she crossed over? She walked on, I think it was last year. It was last year or the year before, out in Colorado. Yeah. Hey, Sandy. I love the cards too. Good to have you here. All right. So here's what else the author has to say about this card. It says that we can't always be light and fluffy. We must acknowledge feelings such as anger or bitterness, Refusing to acknowledge personal anger, resentment, or mistreatment towards yourself will only leave you feeling depressed, with your self-worth being sacrificed just to please others. Right now, you're experiencing an emotional challenge. You may be feeling overwhelmed, have had your trust broken, or felt betrayal from people close to you. You may have been hurt by others either physically or emotionally. Know that you have the resilience and the strength you need within to overcome this challenge in life. This is a temporary phase. You must acknowledge your emotions now if you'd like to move forward quickly. It's important to remember not to dwell on the events for too long, as they can keep you stuck in that stagnant part of your life. Verbal confrontations are possible now. Attempt meditation to remove the emotional charge out of the conversation. I'm sorry, that's not meditation, it's mediation. Bifocals. Mediation. I was going to say, that doesn't make any sense. To remove the emotional charge out of the conversation for all parties to be heard and express themselves equally. Remember, you can only heal something you have chosen to acknowledge. You can only heal something that you have chosen to acknowledge. That makes so much sense, doesn't it? So this particular card is really about expressing all of our emotions, and especially the ones that we try to hide, that we try to ignore, that we try to dismiss, right? And to actually turn your attention to it and say, I see you. I notice you. I acknowledge you, right? And that we have the ability at that point, and the expression is to move through it rather than to have it take up residence, right? And it can actually help us to resolve whatever issue that's going on. There is a more of a challenge in this one, I think, is that when we're working on resolving, I have like Georgie hair somewhere. You can feel it on my face. When we have a situation that involves other people, right? And in order to reach a resolution, many times we have to have a discussion about it. We have to have a chat about it, right? And to be able to go into that in a calm way, in a grounded way. So here's our grounding, right? Is to be able to do that, to be um, in that frequency, so that you can really hear what they're saying to you, and that you can really express yourself, so that hopefully they'll be able to hear you, right? I think that's the harder challenge in that. Sometimes I think it's easier just to dismiss it and say, oh, that's just them, and walk away, right? And sometimes that's good. I'm not saying that it's not. But in order to reach a resolution that helps everyone involved, we have to put our big girl pants on, or our big boy pants on, and sit down and actually have a conversation about it. I think that's the harder challenge, when you have to involve other two-leggeds, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. Sandy saying she loved the cards. I think I read that one. Years can't. Oh, really? Okay. And she says, yes, last year, I think. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yes, years can heal. That's true. Time heals. So do tears. Tears heal. They're very healing. Even though you get the ugly cry. Have you ever done one of those? Where it's all snotty, and you got, you look like you've been through the ringer, right? And it's hard to even catch your breath. The ugly cry. Whenever we have one of those, how exhausted we are from it. Do you ever notice that? that you're just tired and worn out after you've gone through your ugly cry. Emotionally, we're spent. Physically, we're done. It's like it's time for a nap. I think those are healthy. I do. I really do. I think those are healthy. Rob is saying, meditation, mediation. What's the difference? Yeah, what's the difference of one T or two? Or where you put that A. When you're reading with bifocal, sometimes those are tricky words. Mary says, "Oh my, I've been struggling as to how to approach my challenges from a loving heart. This is amazing." Yes. Yeah. The best sometimes things that we can do is to be grounded, centered, and protected, so that we can express ourselves in the best way possible, even though what we're going to be saying may be difficult for the other person to hear, right? So that we can be as in our heart as we possibly can, so that they can at least hear that part of it, right? Yeah. So being grounded, being centered, and protected is good. Madonna says, that's powerful stuff. You can only heal what you've chosen to acknowledge. Exactly. Exactly. When you can actually um, categorize it for yourself, right? And I think it does make a difference, don't you think, Madonna, that um, one acknowledged emotion or event or healing, right, that needs to take place could mean something completely different between people, right? It could have the same word, but the depth could be different. Um, the experience with it could be different. You know, if we're healing something, acknowledging something to be healed, let's call it something like all right, let's call it somebody hurting our feelings, and there are a loved one, whether it's our spouse or sibling or child, right? Even though we both might call it an emotional, let's say, heartbreak, we're healing it differently. We're our definition is different, right? Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So it's very individual. It's very unique to each one of us. Yeah. And even though we might have the ability to empathize because maybe we've been through something similar, um, sometimes the best thing we can do is just listen, right? And give them a hug, say a prayer. Angie, gotta bring that up. Yep, she says she's been there. Exactly, that ugly cry. Cindy says, my sound therapy is bringing the emotions out of my body. I can see how that could happen. It's good though. It's good. Madonna's saying, if you sat down numerous times to share your feelings with another, but see that your message isn't being heard, maybe because you're on a different channel, so to speak, with them. Right. Right. And sometimes the best thing you can do is to be that grounded person and try to express yourself as best you can. Right. Unfortunately, we can't um, control how the other person actually takes it in. Right. Can't. But it's in our expression rather than repressing it or suppressing it, right? That we're actually expressing it. All those essence. Breaking my heart. I know, right? Right. Hey, Kimberly's here. Hi, Kimberly. She goes, join late. Good to be here. Just finished a treatment. Oh, good. I'm running about an hour late too, Kimberly. So it's all good. We're right where we're supposed to be, right? Margaret's saying, listening to others' emotions without judgment or needing to fix is my lesson. I know. Sometimes, rather than being attentive listening, right, is that we get into that, I can fix this for you. And so we rush ahead in their story to try to formulate the questions before we even hear their answer to the last question or whatever. And so we're trying to troubleshoot, right? And so many times, it does come from, I think, a good place that you want to be able to help somebody, especially when you love them, right? But I think there's a fine line between that and being to control it, right? To go be the go-to person is one thing, but be the go-to person because you want to control the situation. Yeah, it's a fine line. Yep. Angie is saying it's hard to open up. Yes. Yes. Because many of us have been trained not to. Doesn't matter the culture, because we all have tinges of it throughout, whether you're Native American, whether you're German, whether you're Scandinavian, whether you're African American, doesn't matter, right? We've all gotten bits and pieces of that. Don't ever show your emotions. Never show somebody this or that, right? Crying is weak, right? There's lots of things that go along with that. So they make it difficult, but it's up to us, right? When we're awake, because you can't go back to sleep. You know too much now. Can't go back to sleep. But now that you know, you can start making those steps to healing, because you're identifying it, you're acknowledging it, right? And you start your healing process. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it goes a little faster. The important thing is that we're doing it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Angie. Cindy says, I've been protecting it since 1993. Yeah. Decades. My mom, still doing it. She's 100, right? Yeah. But once we open up and once we're able to express, our life changes. Our life changes. We're able to be a much more loving being, and our compassion is so much deeper, right? Yeah, that's because we're truly healing aspects of ourselves. And look at the time in the Midwest; it's 3:33 right now. I know those ascended masters. Went down and go, oh, I get that. Yeah. Rob is saying, I will go back to sleep after I leave work. No, you can try. You've seen too much. You know too much. Now, there's an affirmation that goes with these cards. Here's the affirmation. It says, I acknowledge and express my emotions with ease and grace. I acknowledge and express my emotions with ease and grace. That's a good one, don't you think? Yeah. I'm going to say it again. I acknowledge and express my emotions with ease and grace. And so, looking at this card now, after reading the affirmation, the expression of the emotion, the tears, being cupped, they can be expressed with ease and grace. Right? We just have to get out of our own way. So those belief systems too. Those pesky belief systems that we keep talking about. Which ones are working for you and which ones aren't. Letting go of the ones that aren't. And a whole bunch of us did that in October, at Samhain, at winter solstice in December, at ringing in the new year on the 31st, right? A lot of us did that. Yeah. Cindy is saying, I'm having a physical reaction to letting it go, panic. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So there's different things that you can layer onto that, right? Is that Sometimes tapping the EFT is very helpful for that. Oils is very good for that. I'm sure you have a stone or a crystal that you should see Cindy's collection of stones and crystals. Oh my gosh. One of these days, Cindy, I'm going to do a live stream from your house and we're going to show your stones and your crystals because holy smokes, lady, she's got some beauties there. She really does. And I'm sure out of one of those, out of all the crystals and stones that you have, there's one there just for you to be able to help you get through the panic part. I bet there is. Yeah, wait till you guys see her the fluorescent rocks. They're beautiful. Angie is saying, yes, blows my mind. It does. That's a good thing, though, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, here's the second card. And I have to tell you, Spirit, there's no way we can make this stuff up. Spirit does it so much better, right? Here's the second card. Illuminate the shadow. Focus on a solution. Right? Illuminate the shadow. Simplify the issue and focus on the solution. There's just so much in this card, too. So many images coming out of the fire and the smoke. I'm going to call it smoke. It's probably not that. Right? Those eyes, very feline-like. Power animals there. Illuminate the shadow. Focus on a solution. Right? Here's the thing, is that we all have a shadow. All of us do. And I think that we're in this physical body, and until our soul, our spirit is no longer in this physical body, then we don't have a shadow. But as long as we're in this physical body, we have a shadow part of ourselves, right? And we face our shadow. We intentionally heal aspects of our shadow self. Our shadow teaches us so much, because without it, we wouldn't recognize the light as bright as we do, right? Yeah. And our life lessons, a lot of it comes out of our shadow selves. We need our shadow selves in order to have our soul growth, right? So we have the illuminate the shadow, shining our inner light, our God spark, the light within our heart. To shine it on our own shadows. And when you think about this, in order to create a shadow, you have to have light. If there was no light, there'd be no shadow, right? And in the heart, the unified field of the heart, the light that's there doesn't cast any shadows. It is the epicenter of light, right? Yeah. So we all have it. Illuminate the shadow, focus on a solution. Lisa. You make me laugh. You're a hard girl to catch up with. I know. I wanted to make sure the show got done today, but I had to do it an hour later. Yeah, because we had Mom had a doctor's appointment we had to deal with. Angie says, I'm going into the partial hospitalization for help. You are? Well, many prayers to you, lady. Many prayers to you. Yeah, lots of love coming your way for that. Mary's saying, amazing. I know, right? What is meant by shadow? That's a good one. Let's see what the author has to say, okay? Because we're using her cards. So this is what she has to say about shadow. She says, when we understand our shadow, we can fully appreciate the light. We must have both aspects within our spirit to have a meaningful life. Without darkness, how can one fully appreciate the beauty and simplicity of life in all its forms? Once we remove fear and personal doubt, it makes room for love, confidence, and motivation, reclaiming your personal power. Our shadow self highlights the need to place ourselves first. When we are stuck within our shadow side, we are unable to see the light of day. We become clouded and foggy with confusion, often forgetting gratitude and compassion through our own selfish moments. Illuminating the shadow is to fully understand our personality and subsequently understand the shadow in others, enabling us to be more considerate of another person's hardships and developing empathy and compassion for other people. So our shadow is that aspect of ourselves that that we may not completely like, right? It's that part of us that yeah, the opposite. It's our opposite. For those of us who have been around the block a few times in the spiritual path, right? The shadow is the part of us that distrusts. It's that shadow part of us that can be selfish, right? The shadow part of us is the part of us that maybe be that wounded child, right? That bully. That's the shadow self. The shadow self teaches us so much. That's the part of us that we're focusing on to heal aspects of, right? Yeah. Some would actually put that shadow part of ourselves as a negative. I personally don't. I don't. Um, that shadow part of ourselves is the part that helps us to learn and is a part of our soul growth. Without that part of ourselves, what's the point of being here? Here in this physical body, right? Because we wouldn't need to learn anything. Our soul wouldn't necessarily have to gain more wisdom and knowledge, right? Yeah, that's a shadow self. I hope that helped, Mary. If not, we'll go around again. Maybe somebody else has another aspect they'd like to add to that. That would be helpful too. Angie says, I see the eyes in the smoke and makes me feel safe. Because we feel seen, right? Everybody wants to feel seen, noticed. Madonna says, I think the shadow is the parts of you you'd rather hide, the parts you feel that are unlovable. Yes, exactly. And we hide that part of ourselves, right? Kind of reminds me, I don't know how many of you have ever done this, but you get somebody's coming to the house. It's kind of a surprise, right? You have a few minutes before they show up. What do? You start picking things up and putting them in closets, right? In drawers. Don't look in the oven or don't look in the dishwasher. So it's all the stuff we don't want people to see that we put away, that we hide, right? How many people have done that? I know I have. You open up a closet and you throw it in there, and you're not going to open that closet while they're there. And guess what? Those closets and drawers and that sort of thing, and from a feng shui perspective, that is the inner part of ourselves that the public doesn't see. So what are in your closets, right? That's the shadow self. Thanks for that, Madonna. That was spot on. Lisa says, yes, I caught myself parking in a little bit of gossip today. I know better than that, taking back that energy. As an awake being, we know when we're in it, right? We know. It's like, oh, darn. All right, let's just delete that last thought, or stepping out of this conversation. Right? Yeah. You're welcome, Mary. I know it is kind of heavy. Spirit is always spot on. We just have to listen to it, right? Pay attention to it. Panic and move. Panic and move. Margaret says, Spirit wants us to love and be loved unconditionally, but we have to open the closet to open our hearts. Exactly. Well put, Margaret. Well put. Exactly. Because, technically, who cares? Who really cares if your house is a bit messy? Isn't it more important that you meet them at the door with a big hug? Right? Come on in. And those of us are saying, don't mind the mess. I've been working, at the computer all day. Come on in. Would you like a cup of tea? Kind of thing. I know. Been there. Done it. Okay. Let's see what else what the author has to say about this. Okay. She says, right now, you are encouraged to illuminate the sections of your personality that are working against your situation. Accept that these challenging aspects are a part of you. Embrace them, love them, and plan on how to achieve a form of balance and make this part of your psyche ultimately work for you. Now is the time to focus on a resolution instead of just on the problem or the challenge. How did you get here? Acknowledge your current circumstances and focus on how you can achieve a positive outcome. Now is the time to get your personality in line with your conscious thought. Apply these balanced characteristics to your areas in your life that could utilize these energies, such as leadership, communication, relationships, employment, and self-talk with your spirit. Once you grow your understanding of your unique personality, you can begin to realign your life to nurture and support your goals and personal interests. So in other words, we have to acknowledge, right, those parts of ourselves, as Madonna's put it so well, that we might consider unlovable. That we have to acknowledge that they're there. And to love that part of ourselves. And so really it's more about our mental mind, right? And our emotional self, that we find that balance. And when we do that, we're really living out of our high heart then, right? Yeah. And so when we're faced with that shadow part of ourselves, rather than staying in the story, right, the victimhood story or the accusation story, is to look at it and say, okay, where is the life lesson in this? What is my responsibility in this whole thing, right? And so when we start asking those kinds of questions, we're awake and we're willing to take responsibility for our portion of it so that we can learn the life lesson that's there. The gift, the wisdom that where it lies in, right? Yeah. But sometimes that doesn't happen until we actually acknowledge that part of ourselves, Yeah. That's where the crux is, because that's difficult. That's difficult sometimes to acknowledge that part of ourselves, right? All right. So here is the affirmation for this one. I effortlessly create peaceful solutions with my personality. I effortlessly create peaceful solutions with my personality. So, our personalities are so unique. That's okay, how do we express ourselves, right? How do we express our gifts? How do we express ourselves? It's really our soul that's coming through all of that lens, that filter. Hmm. And trying to keep it simple rather than complicated. When we start complicating things, we never reach a resolution. So try to simplify it as best you can, right? Yeah. Crystal says, that's my philosophy, Neshi. Oh, good. Yay. Margaret saying, Neshi was my first spiritual teacher in 2010 when I was pregnant with my third child. Oh, I remember that. Wise woman, what a gift. Oh, thank you, Margaret. Thank you so much. And I miss seeing you. And her kids are all young adults now, right? Oh my gosh. I know I see your posts on Facebook and think, oh my gosh, what a handsome young man your oldest is. Oh my goodness. Crystal says, yes, she's a blessing. Oh, you guys are so sweet. All right. So Angie, I'm no longer in fear. I now feel love and ready to go down the new path. That's good. Take some courage, bravery, but once you make that first step, it's good. It's a good one. Now, I'm going to show you both cards. Okay? Because I think it's important that we see these two side by side. And I'm going to give you a moment. Just take a deep breath in. If you haven't done your grounding today, please get some roots down. All right? Just even in your intention, I'm grounded. Feeling your energy connected to Grandmother Earth from the top to the bottom, right? And then calling your team to you. Now, our spiritual team is always with us, always. What we're doing is we're putting our attention on them, asking them to come close. And then asking them to assist us, help us in taking in the information from the cards that's optimal for us individually, okay? So that you get the message that Spirit is delivering. All right, so deep breath in. And on the exhale, here we go. They're very similar cards, don't you think? Very similar. Emotional challenges. Resolve the issue. Expression of your emotions, right? This one is illuminate the shadow. Focus on the solution. So both cards are really about identifying those aspects of ourselves that we might not always show, because our answers, our resolutions, our situation to solve lies in those areas that we need to acknowledge, to express. Right? In those emotions, all your emotions, not just the light, fluffy ones, but all the emotions, even the anger and the resentment, the hurt ego, right? Yeah, all of it. And one of the things that I found really helpful for myself, when something occurs, an event occurs, and my reaction to it is really a very strong reaction, right? Is to have the reaction And then I ask myself, my spiritual team, what was that about? Why did that trip a trigger for me? What emotion was that? And so if I can identify the emotion and go a little bit deeper, right? What's at the very bottom of it? Is it fear? So what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? And then start listing those things that fall in there, right? The shadow is going to try to hide all that in the unexpressed emotions, right? That energy has to come out somewhere. It might take years, but it's going to come out. How do you want to express it? Do you want to express it as resentfulness? Do you want to express it as controlling? Do you want to express it as jealousy? Right? Yeah. I think Spirit's really asking us to take a look at that. If you have a situation that you're going through right now, is to try to identify what aspect is really at the bottom of that. What emotion is that? No matter what it is. It could be a happy emotion. It could be joyful. And in that joy, are you hiding anything in that expression of the joy? Are you fully expressing it? Or are you just saying, oh, yay, instead of really celebrating it, right? This is to help us grow. And aren't these cards similar? Just even in their design, they're very similar. So those of you that are techie savvy, you can always do a screen print or a screenshot of those cards, and you can work with them a little bit later. This is meant for everybody and for the entire week. And so, to identify it for yourself, right? Yeah. Yay. Good for you, Angie. Good. Lisa says, I'm feeling the crystal skull interview you did. It does kind of look like that, doesn't it? It does. I'm going to show the cards again. I can see where you get that from, Lisa. Really. Right? There's an aspect of the energy that the crystal skulls bring to the earth plane. And really that has a lot to do with sensing or seeing the energy that's all around us all the time, and bringing it in into its depths, right? This is all about your growth, and how we balance our personality, our unique personality, with our unique soul, because our personality is expressing our soul, right, in its wholeness. And as we're here on an earth plane in its duality, that's where we get the shadow and the light parts of ourselves. And we're here to learn about that and to bring it together into that unified field, right? Yeah. I think it happens in the expression of it. God, we learned so much from it. Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you guys so much for being with me this afternoon. Now, remember, anything that resonated with you from the conversation we had, my suggestion is to embrace it and then watch, see, sense, feel how the energy this week is coming around you, right? And where this information can be helpful. And if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. There's always next week, right? And maybe you're the messenger and you just get to share the recording with somebody. That's good too. So, tonight is Polyjola Bay and Soul Connections. Now, if you are in the area of healing and you know that you want something done about your healing, you've identified something tonight, you might want to come and join us. Polly Joe, she and her team create the sacred space for us. We bring our individual intentions and our spiritual teams, and we work in a unified field together, and to be able to do that healing together. It's a very powerful evening. If you enjoy getting a mini card reading, Polly Joe does that in the second half. That all gets started at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so you can join her for that. And tomorrow is chakra sessions at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Nope, I'm sorry, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's a change. And actually, it's going to be a replay. I'm going to do a watch party for that show, and we're going to be watching together a show that Polly Joe did on multidimensional aura. That's a fascinating topic, and I just wanted to be in that energy field with you guys. We'll have another conversation. This time, I'm going to be in the live chat with you guys, okay? And we can have a chat about the information that Polly Joe's sharing. So, yay. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here next week for Spiritual Roundtable, the card draw. You can join me on Sunday if you'd like in the afternoon. That is the Spiritual Roundtable Dream Interpretation show, and that is held in the private group that's attached to Star Nation's live stream shows. Okay? All right. So with that, Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.